just get paid. I want to play. The vibes is right. I wanna hug up tight. No time to waste. I wanna work my ways. So come on, babes. Give me a taste. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub and love up. I wanna rub and kiss up. I wanna rub and jam up. I wanna rub and rub up. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Hold on. I'm feeling. I'm feeling. Smoking my brain, I wanna do my thing. Work up a sweat until I soak in wet. Rub your body, show no mercy, because I'm feeling tipsy.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness. Aye, who tell the truth? Mark Brenscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Brenscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Brenscop, straight up from the root. Mark Brenscop, who tell the truth? Mark Brenscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Brenscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Brenscop, straight up from the root. Mark Brenscop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Brenscop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom, who tell the truth? Mark Brenscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Brenscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Brenscop, straight up from the root. Mark Brenscop, who tell the truth? Margaret Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Margaret Scott, radio station is the fruit. Margaret Scott, straight up from the root. Margaret, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention, education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Ben's Cup upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and on the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal them, who tell the truth. Margaret Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Margaret Scott, radio station is the fruit. Margaret Scott, straight up from the root. Margaret Scott, who tell the truth. Margaret Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Margaret Scott, radio station is the fruit. Margaret Scott, straight up from the root. Margaret Scott, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family.
All right, hey, guess what? Come aboard. Let's get to, we're going to rock and roll. As I promised you guys that we are on this private jet broadcasting in the bush, from the bush. You know what I mean? Not black bush or bush lot or flat bush, the real bush. And I'm beginning to wonder, why would anybody in Guyana purchase a private jet like this for $35 million only to be flown in the bush, out the bush, in the bush, out the bush? And like, I'm not saying that it's from Flatbush or whichever other, whether it's bush lot or black bush, but the bush, right? The bush. $35 million. Now, you guys don't be fooled, you know. Don't be fooled as to how this money is being circulated, you know, how this money is being cooked up, you know, how this money is being washed up, you know. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, right? Because when you get a bunch of money and you just can't account for it, and then you try to legitimize it, and you mix up good money with bad money with good money. Anyways, we're on this plane right now, right? And I'm the pilot going into the bush. What are we going to haul out from the bush? I don't know. But thank you guys for sharing the link, because we're going to rock and roll. Sit anywhere. You guys are free to sit anywhere, sprawl off anywhere. This is your jet, right? And you know, a lot of you who are watching this show, you can fly on this private jet anywhere, any part in the world. You can even go to Barbados. You can even say hi to Maya Motley, wherever. You can go to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You can say hi to that political Nimakaram out there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Gonzales. You can go anywhere. You can even take that Moko individual who's head of CARICOM, and you take him there too. Take them anywhere. Right? Isn't Guyana a beautiful place, an interesting place? Suddenly, all these so-called businessmen just popping out of every corner, every hole, every trench. They're just popping out, attempting to legitimize themselves, wanting people to forcefully accept them as some sort of God-given individual, philanthropist, all these sort of things. They're forcing people to do that. But people are not, you know the word I want to use, right? Anyways, good evening to all of you. My name is Mark Penshaw. Welcome to Straight Up. I don't know where can we start as we get off this plane right now. You've got to start somewhere. And good evening to all of you. I know some of you have been inboxing me. Some of you have been texting me, asking, where am I? Where am I? Well, here it is, I am. And good evening. Share the link and let folks know that we are on with a serious program, talking about serious issues that are affecting Guyana. You know, many years ago, the installed PPP regime, they started a program called One Laptop Per Family. It was a fraud, the biggest fraud, or one of the biggest fraud in Guyana. And every time we talk about fraud, you got to remember that guy who was charged with 19 fraud charges. And today he sits there as the installed president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. He still sits there. He's sitting there. And speaking of that guy who sits there as the installed president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, he sent a message out the other day. He wants people to know how beautiful Guyana is, right? Here's the message he sent out. He's still fumbling to speak a little, but he sent that message out. He's still trying to grapple, still trying to make sense out of it. This is what he said.
Guyana really nice. Guyana, it's a nice place.
Guyana really nice. Guyana is a nice place, right? Guyana is a corrupt place under that guy's leadership, where friends and cronies and families are getting all of the contracts, and even men who are wanted by the U.S., various U.S. law enforcement, their agencies, they're wanted for drug dealing, money laundering, terrorism, you name it. And these are the guys that are cozying up with Irfan Ali. And yet they're saying, this is what Irfan is saying. Such a hypocrite, right? He sits there as the installed president. This is what he's saying.
Guyana really nice. Guyana, it's a nice place.
Indeed, Guyana is a really nice place, right? With all of the oil money, oil. And look at this. Look at this. Look at this bridge. I am almost certain that they give one of their cronies or one of those corrupt individuals in the PPP, they maybe family member, I don't know, somebody to build this bridge. This is not the Berbice River Bridge, but I'm almost certain that they're going to say that this bridge costs, taxpayers' monies that is, that this bridge cost maybe $15 or $20 million. Look at this bridge. This is the one Guyana they talk about. This is the road. This is the bridge. This is what these people are talking about. They are a bunch of corrupt vagabonds running that country. And they want to brainwash people about one Guyana. And Guyana is so beautiful. You know, Guyana is corrupt under these folks right now. Guyana is undemocratic under these folks right now. Guyana doesn't have a real government. Guyana basically have a bunch of gangsters, penny gangsters, who are stealing billions of taxpayers' dollars, billions of oil money. They are stealing, and they're allowing the oil companies and so forth to just run away with all of the oil, all of the profits. And while they're doing that, guess who is paying for it? The ordinary people are paying for it. It doesn't matter your ethnicity, but the ordinary man, woman, boy, and girl out in Port Morant, they're paying for it. Polari lady, if she pays taxes, she's paying for it. The people in Blackbush Polder, the people at Philippi Farm, the people at Cromarty, Evesham, Epsom, Brighton, Corriverton, Alness, Salton, Ulverston, Manchester, Wim, Lancaster, Liverpool, Letterkenny, Arkline, Bloomfield. All those people are paying for it. So, say, for example, those big oil companies, they want to jump on a private jet and travel wherever they want to. Guess who's paying for it? The ordinary people are paying for it. Crawford is paying for it. Crawford is there. He's in Guyana. And speaking of Crawford, I hope our operator, Lemon, who's back on the job, he finally got a little something to do, is going to be able to patch Crawford through, because we want to get to the bottom of some things, man. Lots of things. No, let's get back to this one laptop or family quickly. Many years ago, and if the operator can just remove this big-time bridge by some big-time contractor. I don't know if Jack Dale is the contractor, because, you know, they get some guy named some Chris Jack Dale, whoever. These guys are big-time contractors now, you know. Suddenly, all of these guys, Chris Jack Dale, they're big contractors. Look at all the names. Check the names of these individuals. The Mohammeds too. They're suddenly contractors. Got almost $1 billion to build the fire service headquarters. It's supposed to be out by the end of this month, right? Oh, all of them are contractors. All of them are getting an opportunity to make billions of dollars at the sweat and blood of ordinary taxpayers of Guyana. So when they give out a little crumbs, pittances, and pretend as though they're philanthropists and they're giving back and they're patriots, give me a bloody break about that. Speaking of that, let's not forget that issue with Basca, Detective Basca. You know, the reporters or the journalists in Guyana, they don't remind you of these things. It happens and it's done with. They move from one thing to the next, one thing to the next. Speaking of one thing to the next, this guy, I don't know whether Blue Iguana is still existing or not, but back in the Phantom Squad days and all of these sort of things, a lot of killings happened in front, or I don't know whether it was organized. I don't know. But this guy, his name has been featured then. Look, he's here, cocaine. Oh no, these are church guys. But putting that aside, right? Notice the type of individuals that the only kind of people that these guys in Kanu and the Guyana Police Force, well, it's not the Guyana Police Force, it's the Guyana Police Force for hire. It goes to the highest bidders. So if you have corrupt businessmen who are wanted by U.S. law enforcement agencies are running the Guyana Police Force right now. So these are the type of guys. Look at his complexion. I know he looks a little bit like Dr. Ram, right? Because they're all black, if you know what I mean. Dr. Ram is now in the U.S., but Dr. Ram was caught by U.S. law enforcement agency, arrested by U.S. law enforcement agency. But in Guyana, only one type of quote-unquote hustlers are being caught, are being arrested and charged and remanded and so forth. Look at them. You know, the big time, get this guy off the screen, man. But the big time drug lords and drug dealers, smugglers, gold smugglers and so forth, they're not being arrested. Those who are high up on the list of U.S. law enforcement agencies in the U.S. law enforcement, they're not on the list. They're not being arrested, but they're being seen in photographs with the acting commissioner of police, with the installed president and other officials of the government, even some executives of ExxonMobil. All these things we're seeing, but nothing is being done. Nothing is being said about that and those individuals. But yet we have these ordinary citizens who are being plastered. Their photographs are being plastered, and they're wanted for acts of terrorism. Acts of terrorism because of a protest in Monrepo, not necessarily a protest where everybody did everything, but only one ethnic group is being targeted. And you see it. This person of African descent, she's wanted for acts of terrorism. Imagine, that is what she's wanted for. Acts of terrorism. But hooligans in the PPP are allowed to get away with 100 times worse than what this woman is being accused of doing. Let's take a look. You want to see terrorists? Take a look at some terrorists.
Good. Now we can see the real standoff. It's just part of the action. Part of the real action.
So that is what it is. I don't know what's happening. Look, we've got to bring our guest on, but before we bring them on, let's run this commercial break. Well, let's run a commercial about a beautiful Guyana, right? Can our operator just bring in this vagabond who has been installed as president? Bring him. He's talking about beautiful Guyana. This is a commercial, right? Let's go.
Guyana, really nice. Guyana, it's a nice place.
Gentlemen, Guyana is really nice. Guyana is really, really nice. It's a nice place. Good to see you, Mr. Wayne Caesar. Good to see you, Mr. Crawford. How nice is Guyana that little child is just making a mockery of that bigger child? Your take first, Mr. Wayne Caesar.
Yeah, good evening, Mark. Good evening, viewers. Well, I see the president is trying to do.
Oh, no. We're starting off on the wrong track. He's not a president. He's been
Oh,
installed.
right.
Come on.
Sorry.
This is Ben Shop Radio. They can try that president thing on some other program, not on this station.
Okay.
Install. Go ahead, sir.
Let me correct myself. I see the install resident. I see the install resident is trying to, do an elevator pitch promoting Guyana. But my response to that, Mark, I would just like to quote James Baldwin for that response. I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. So Airfanali need to get out of here with that garbage. They continue to marginalize people. The PPP continue to hold the same posture. Right? And what's killing me here, Mark, and I got to call this out. The international community is very dormant. They're acting as if they're non-existent in this whole thing. Right? But I'm going to go there and say that the U.S. ambassador is complicit in what's going on in Guyana. They're encouraging it. They're backing this government to some degree. I'm not going to say 100% backing this government, but they are backing the government. The EU High Commissioner, the British High Commissioner, the Canadian ambassador, they are all complicit. The ABC countries, they are all complicit in what's going on in Guyana. And this has got to stop. This has got to stop. And the only way that we're going to stop this, Mark, is that the Guyanese people is got to wake up. They really got to wake up. The opposition got to wake up. And we really got to stop talking and start doing.
I'm tired of telling people stop talking and start doing. I'm just tired, absolutely tired. More action, more silent action behind the scene can be far more effective. And sometimes the perception is that the ABC countries aren't doing much, particularly the US. I'm seeing some signs that things are beginning to change, and I'm hoping that it will speed up and we can see some more changes, extradition requests and so forth. That is, those extradition requests are basically sitting on someone's desk there in Guyana, but we'll get back to that shortly. Let's get straight over to Mr. J.R. Crawford and what's happening not only at Alnes Village or Philippi, but in Guyana. I know you've been busy. There's something that I want to talk about. Let's touch on. We're not going to touch on the plane because it's $35 million. People got to just rinse out money and whatever it is. Whoever is going to buy it, we don't know. We don't want to touch on this so-called stadium yet. I don't know if people are going to eat stadium, just like they say people are going to eat road, whether people are going to eat stadium. Look at this one latrine per family. They started off with one laptop per family that was corrupt. Now they are starting with one latrine per family. You guys are hearing it here first. One latrine per family. That's what they're starting off. And then this road. I don't know. Mr. Crawford, where do you wish to begin, sir? Good night and good to see you too. But we can't hear you for some reason. Your volume. We still can't hear you, sir. Yeah. While Mr. Crawford tried to get his voice there back, we are not hearing, no audio coming from him. We spoke about this. We're still not hearing you, Mr. Crawford. But this one laptop, this one latrine per family, many years ago, which was just maybe under 10 years ago, they started off what is called a one laptop per family program that cost taxpayers about $8 million. $8 million alone. That was just a repair. It went to friends and cronies of Jack Dale, friends and cronies of the PPP. Now, I don't know how, this is not impossible, mind you, under the PPP regime. One latrine per family. Mr. Crawford, can we get your audio now? We're not, can you say something, Mr. Crawford, so we can, we're not, so what Mr. Crawford can do is remove himself and then return with his audio fixed. Sorry about that. Mr. Mr. Wayne, I know it's tax season for you guys. Maybe it's wrapping up. You've been busy. Good to see you. Glad that you've taken some time out of your busy schedule. But I'm not sure if you remember the one laptop or family that cost taxpayers just to repair those laptop computers that they got from their friends and their cronies, maybe out in China or wherever where that was subcontracted. But $8 million went to their friend Young, a guy named Brian Young, millions of dollars to repair it and so forth, and other friends and cronies. And God in heaven knows what happened to that program. One laptop per family. Mr. Crawford. Yep, again, we can't hear you. Maybe you have a new device. I don't know what is happening. Somebody's tampering with your stuff. Just do me a quick favor, or do all of us a quick favor. Just sprinkle some Limacol around whatever device you're using, because it's just not working, sir. We're not hearing you at all. We're just not hearing you. What is your take, Mr. Caesar, concerning this latest development of one latrine per family?
Mark, I didn't know that those still existed really in Guyana, but to the extent that they do, and based on what you're showing me there, they actually do. I think that the PPP could just use this as another opportunity, because I don't know what the cost of this outhouse is going to be.
It's going to cost, each house is going to cost almost 800,000 Guyana dollars. You see, they got a different kind of stuff in there. It's not the usual latrine that GR and I are accustomed to back in the days. But this is, I don't know, something is wrong with that government. But Mr. Crawford, can you hear us, sir?
I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me now?
Absolutely. Right on. Let's get on. What's on your mind? Let's talk. A lot of things we want to talk about.
Well, first off, happy Pagua to all our Guyanese brothers and sisters who do celebrate it. Now, on to other stuff. What I'm seeing here is a total waste of our taxpayers' dollars. And I'll go straight to the Berbice Stadium that is supposed to be an asset. Why would you go out there and build a stadium when you can't have jobs for the people? Instead of building a stadium, you could have built a package factory, or you could have built processing plant and whatever. We have Albion Sports Complex, which is renowned for as an international venue. Why not just do a facelift there and save the Guyanese people a hell of a lot of money? But for some strange reason, we are looking at a stadium as improvement, when in reality, it's setting us back. It's going to cost the society a lot, because people are going to steal or go to prostitution to go attend these functions because there's no job out here. The 40 hours a month has destroyed what little was left in the sugar state, and is putting so much pressure on the rice industry, because people are not going to work anymore. We're being pushed into a welfare state of mind. So we're not getting anywhere with this sort of behavior.
These guys are not thinkers. They just don't think. They're not smart enough to think, and that's the other thing. Nobody. We are not saying that stadiums aren't good, and don't get me wrong. And I'm sure that that's not what you're saying. We want stadiums, but now is not the time for stadiums. People need jobs, our infrastructures. People need better schools. Kids need. They need computerized schools. We want a regime that could talk about these things. And mind you, watch them rush out to talk. We need to hear that all the schools, from nursery to secondary, or in the case of Berbice has the Dane campus. But let us say from nursery to secondary should be fully computerized. Corriverton has about two or so secondary school, Line Part, and then they probably have Corriverton, and then you go down the line. So furnish all of the secondary schools with computer labs, the primary schools with computer labs, the nursery schools with computer labs. Talk about these things. Don't talk about building a stadium and consider this developed yet and that the country is moving forward. The country isn't moving forward because what they're using the stadium to do, the building of the stadium, is to wash money and to give monies away to their friends and cronies to build a stadium that will turn out to be a white elephant, just like the synthetic track they have over in Lenora that became a white elephant. And when I say white elephant, I'm not speaking of elephant because he's from Lenora side. I'm actually talking about that synthetic track where hundreds of millions of dollars were spent and nothing was done with it. Absolutely nothing. Speaking of these sort of things, even the Skilden estate, $200 million spent on it, or $200 million dollars spent on it, and what has happened to it? Absolutely nothing. White elephant, a bunch of white elephants. Even the stadium they have, Providence Stadium there, is a semi-white elephant. You go in there, the bathrooms are not working. Nothing is really working there. The only time you see a bathroom works is when these hooligans in the PPP attend the function there. So all of a sudden, they're talking about another stadium. I don't know. So this stadium is being built up by Palmyra, right? Talk a little bit about it, Mr. Crawford, before we get back to Stephen.
Mark, look, I passed there a few days ago, and it's already causing traffic problems, right? If you want to if you were to build a stadium, you have enough land to go deep inside where it wouldn't interfere with the flow of traffic, and also it would be a much more relaxed environment for you to get proper parking, for you not to be in harm's way. The folks who plan these things, I don't know if they just think about the return, personal gain, the illicit gains, or what it is, and where it is they're getting the monies. The people who are lending them these monies to do these projects should be questioned. Why are you building a stadium and you're not providing employment for your people, proper health care, better security?
Wash money.
It's all for personal gain for the selective few.
I don't.
But
you are correct. Wash money is corruption, and that is what they're giving their monies to corrupt individuals to wash money. Right now, before we get to that, people are upset. Some people are saying they should build hospitals. I don't even think they should build more hospitals now.
They don't need hospitals, Mark. What they need, and you see, the people of this country, they're either mentally retarded.
Or some people.
I'm living here. Why aren't we seeing these people demanding proper goods and services? The cost of living has hit the roof. There isn't proper employment. The respect for the population isn't there. And yet we're not seeing a togetherness. We are still seeing people that are divided. And why would I listen to political leaders who are dividing the nation and making us suffer? It's time now the Guyanese people stop looking at hair texture and skin color and start to come together to demand
skin color. We can't, because look, I'm whiter than most of these people who love to call people racist.
Well, I understand, but some people still see this nonsense.
No.
But when you look around, right? Without political interference, you're seeing in the interaction at Bad Settlement, the very place that I stood, surrounded by over 200 people saying they would poison black people with their goods. The very people now are selling.
Mr. Crawford, let us just let the listeners know. This is not just propaganda. They said
no, I was there. I was surrounded by them.
Exactly.
Right?
They said it.
Good. And now the very people are selling to the same black people that they wanted to poison 3 years ago. You understand? We as a Guyanese people are driven by ignorance instead of being driven by the thought of being progressive. We have lived together when there is a normal government in power and we don't hate each other. But for some strange reason, some of us are ignorant to the point where they don't need to be in civilization. There's no need for black and Indian to be at each other's throat. We all need each other. We all suffer the same way. We all have to struggle to make ends meet. Why can't we come together and demand proper goods and services from whoever, PNC or PPP in power? The people must benefit. We are not seeing anything from the wealth that we have in this country, from gold, timber, and now oil. We, last year there was big talk that the NRF fund only had a couple of $100 million. All of a sudden we have a budget of $4 billion US, and the oil fund has the money. If we are having leaders that are lying and are misappropriating our tax dollars or our money, then we need to turn our backs and go a next direction. If we are living in a country, why live in a survival mode instead of a proper, comfort mode?
You know what, Mr. Crawford, it goes on both sides, because sometimes these two major parties, whomever is in power, most of the people are satisfied. It happens to the PPP, it happens to the PNC or the coalition and so forth. I get your point, but let's bring in Mr. And I agree with you almost 100%, sir. But let's bring in Mr. Caesar. Mr. Caesar, your take on this stadium. People are starving. There's no jobs. There's nothing really. And even as Mr. Crawford said, where they're putting this stadium, it doesn't make sense because it's close to the Berbice River Bridge. What's going to happen to traffic? Go ahead, Mr. Caesar.
Yeah, okay. So Mark, my comment on this stadium is that first and foremost, we don't need a stadium. It doesn't need to be built. There's one on the East Bank, and as JR just quoted, there's a stadium at Albion there up in Berbice. We need roads, we need bridges. The roads and bridges need to be fixed. And I know the PPP is talking about the country moving forward. A stadium does not move a country forward. A country moves forward when its people is moving forward. How do you move forward the people? The PPP made a pitch that they would create 50,000 jobs when they get into power. I'm not sure that they created 10,000 jobs. Okay, so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here. So we're 40,000 jobs behind. Okay, the Guyanese people do not have disposable income after they would have paid their expenditures. So I don't see the need for a stadium because the people don't really have money to sport. I know some of them tend to find it. How they do it, I really don't know. Why they do it, I can't really answer why they do it, but I think it's very silly to be coming out and supporting events thrown by a government that continues to marginalize and ill-treat people who do not support them. This is a dictatorship, and until people start figuring out and start getting a grip of what's going on, this is going to continue.
It is indeed a dictatorship. It has gone beyond dictatorship. It's corruption, massive level of corruption, because when you see senior police officers are walking around taking photographs and men who are wanted by U.S. law enforcement agencies, men who have proclaimed, yes, that they are the subject of investigations by not one U.S. law enforcement agency, but several U.S. law enforcement agencies. And government officials are comfortable hanging out and taking photographs of these individuals with no investigations at all. Something is definitely wrong. Now, Mr. Caesar, you did mention that Albion has a stadium. Let me correct you, sir. Albion has a community center. And I know that. And this is not any disrespect to Albion communities. I've gone there. I've watched cricket and so forth. But it's 2023. That's not a stadium. It's not. Mr. Crawford, you still want to touch on that stadium, or should we move on to some other stuff, sir?
No, I mean, it's done and gone. Let's see what happens. I hope it's a failed project. We can talk about the cost of living. We can talk about the destruction of the morals of the 40 hours a month, that what it's doing to us, to our workforce. You're hearing the complaints from the rice farmers. You're hearing ST don't have any workers anymore.
Gotcha. You know, one of the things that, and that is why people sometimes they don't see me on the show, is I believe in action. And the less we talk, because we can talk and talk and call for action, and those guys over there are just not too action oriented. They just don't believe in action. Good evening to Mr. Norton. And when we talk about action, we're not talking about violence or fighting or whatever. You've got to keep these vagabonds in the PvP on their feet. You got to keep them. You got to always be 10 steps ahead in front of you. You can't allow them to be ahead of you. And that is why, I believe that my energy should be used. It should be used. Look at this. Thank you so much, Operator Lemon. This is another thing. This is a youngster who was badly tied up in a so-called businessman's yard. To this day, the family members and so forth don't know where this individual is. They don't know where he is. But this is the subject of U.S. law enforcement agency as well. They want to find out the individual, whether he's alive or not. We'll touch on that maybe on another occasion. Mr. Crawford, Mr. Caesar, this CARICOM chair is saying that installed Mohammed Irfan Ali is a man of integrity. CARICOM chair. Let me get who's going to take the first bite of that. Caesar?
Mark, when you see these statements are being made by people from international organization, it's shocking, yes, but the Guyanese people must take it and understand that the corruption is far and wide. And thus, for us to have improvements in our country, we have to band together. This statement from this individual, it's a slap in our faces as Guyanese citizens. When we're seeing, and you're seeing all over social media on a weekly basis, the oppression, the disrespect, and the blatant pilfering of our state resources. And here is somebody making these kind of statements. The Uncle Toms never cease to exist. That's my point on this cat.
Mr. Caesar, let's get your take. Here's a man. Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Here's a man that was charged 19 fraud charges. He can't state where he got his undergrad degree from, which university he attended to get that from. 19 fraud charges. Here's a man who was blocked from going into Canada. And these are not things that we're talking out of propaganda's sake or for propaganda's sake. These are things that are basically factual. Canada blocked Irfan Ali when he was not installed as president. He was on his way to Canada. They blocked him. Irfan Ali, said that he's going to say publicly why they blocked him. He hasn't come out publicly to say why they blocked him, but when he was installed as president, then he was able to fly back to Canada. But to this date, he hasn't said to the public why they blocked him. Is it because of alleged money laundering? I don't know. But he hasn't said anything. All we have heard from Irfan thus far is this.
Guyana, really nice. Guyana, it's a nice place.
Now, let's get to Mr. Caesar. Mr. Caesar, reading from what the chairman of CARICOM has said, the current chairman, that Mohammed Irfan Ali is a man of integrity. How does that make you feel, sir?
It makes me laugh. That's what it does. Because coming from a man of that stature, it just shows you, as Mr. Crawford says, corruption runs wide. He knows what he's going to receive. But one thing I must say is that man doesn't have a conscience. He lacks integrity. He lacks humanity. Because for him to see what's going on in Guyana, and to make such a statement. You know, where's the proof to back such a statement? You have a divided country. You have a dictatorial government. You have the races clashing in the country. And you're going to say that this is a man of integrity? I don't see it. I don't see a man of integrity when you could go into Buxton and call a man with integrity, Dr. David Hines, a joker. Now, Irfan Ali, I'm going to tell you this. When we did election the last time, when they did the election, they forgot when they pick out the cards to take out the 4 jokers, because that's what they actually selected as an installed government, a set of jokers. Not only that, Mr. Caesar. Let me, if the CARICOM chair is watching, and somebody can give him this clip, the same man that he's saying that is a man of integrity, 19 fraud charges. Of course, they're allegations, they're charges. We must admit that it wasn't brought before the court. But it's not that it wasn't brought before the court. They have attacked it at every level in order for it not to be brought before the court. Now, if the 19 fraud charges were brought before the court and he was exonerated, he was freed because of no evidence, then we can understand. But it was never. And as soon as they were installed, the DPP actually withdrew all of those 19 fraud charges. All of the 19 fraud charges. And now this is a man who has integrity, according to that Looney Tune who sits there as the head of CARICOM. Let's take a quick look at this clip.
Mr. Watts, he's armed himself. Shots, watch it, tear gas. Live rounds, also I can see that.
Just for Quentin! The man is a boxer, man. I like your put in the boxer, man, to do that.
But since my cousin there is no, you come on the East Coast.
You listen to me.
Right? No, you come to the East Coast.
You listen to me now.
You gotta listen to me too, man.
I am listening to you.
Now, I see you on the East Coast. The day when they get a protest of them, the next day, that's when you see one bigger heads come up to talk to my family. Right? And that's bad. If we didn't do a protest, we want to see nobody for justice. I'm not holding back nothing. I'm not holding back nothing. I just need justice for my family.
I get visitors all of a sudden. All of a sudden, you have visitors. This is Joker. Who is that Joker? That piece of plum. They know who to deal with, you know.
These people have no conscience. No conscience they don't have.
Guyana really nice. Guyana. It's a nice place.
Man of integrity? Guyana real nice? Look at what they've done to that woman's house out there in Linden. And they're still targeting the people of Linden. Watch what they're going to do in coming days. I hope I'm wrong, but the people of Linden should be prepared because the installed PPP regime will be back in Linden with their goons to bulldoze people's properties right there in Linden. They're already complaining that that squatters, quote unquote squatters, are impeding housing development, which would be given to their friends and cronies. Watch out for that. Mr. Crawford, take it over. What else you want to talk about? You want to talk about a man of integrity or what?
Men should be ashamed of themselves. You had the Charandas fiasco in India. He came to the nation and he said Charandas is being recalled. He lied to the nation. I don't understand the people who support this political organization if they're not seeing that they are being blatantly disrespected, they're being taken for fools, and all they are political pawns on election day. They're being used to discriminate against people who do not support this party. And at the end of the day, the country goes nowhere. A selective few gets rich, and the majority of the people are at war with each other. They can hardly survive. They don't have proper medical coverage. We are not respected in the international countries. Our children don't have a proper future unless you're in the buddy system where you're going to grow up knowing that integrity is not something that's part of the home. Hustle and stealing is what matters. It's giving us a false sense of security. We are not, as a nation, going to be attractive to honest investment, elevation to 21st century standards. These are things that we should be looking for as a nation. We are not seeing honesty as something that is up there. What we are seeing is a status. Nobody cares how you amass what you got, as long as you can flex your muscles and show off with a fancy car or massive homes. You're successful.
And sprinkle little crumbs here and there and take pictures.
That's the thing. And the most disturbing...
I don't know. I take umbrage to school. Children are trying to fashion themselves on the individuals who suddenly pop up and become rich. And
that's what I'm saying. That's how society is. But the most disturbing thing that is happening here is to see that the henchmen for this organization, who they are willing to destroy their own groups just, for little crumbs. They'll take you out for $20,000. They're very, very bad when they're in large groups, but cornered by themselves, they're wimps.
I know a lot of them like that.
You know what I'm saying? These are the things that are so disturbing, and somewhere along the line, Guyanese have lost their sense of purpose, their dignity. I don't know if it's a mental thing, if we're having so many people in Guyana that are mentally challenged, hence the reason for them to be associating with wrongdoings. We're looking. When you look across the international scope, people are fighting for improvements, proper goods and services. Look at the streets that they're building. They're narrow. They're not properly constructed. It's overpriced. So you're knowing that it's all theft. We're not going out there and banding together to have more doctors, better qualified doctors in our country. Better electricity system, water. security. We're not even seeing provisions for the poor folks. We're not seeing people at the discussion table trying to target the high cost of living, so individuals can be able to, to manage life. Everything they're talking about is this one guy, and this is nonsense. We have already have in our coat of arms one nation, one destiny, one people. Where and why are you trying to change what the founding fathers have set out there, and where we were living good, we were educated, we were mannerly, we were healthy, and we were progressive as a growing country? Now, after 50 years, we have gone into a country of just hustle and buddyism.
Hustle.
When are we,
Hustle.
as a people, are going to stop hating each other because of race or religion?
Absolutely. I think
let's hit somebody because they're dishonest to the nation, and they're screwing the majority when they are pilfering our resources.
I do believe that message is loud and clear about coming together and ensuring that people stand up for what is right. I know there are lots of PPP supporters, regardless of their ethnicity, but the majority of them are of one ethnic persuasion, and nothing is wrong with that, but they are fed up of what is happening with the PPP. They are fed up in terms of the direction that the PPP is going. They know that the PPP is corrupt. They know that the country is not heading in the right direction. Mr. Caesar, look at this guy that is tied up here. Look at this guy. Is this how you run a country, where businessmen feel comfortable that they can tie somebody up like this, beat this person up, and nobody knows where this person is today? No one knows, and law enforcement agencies in Guyana don't give a damn. How does this make you feel, Mr. Caesar?
Well, Mark, you could look at this a few different ways. Of course, I feel horrible for that young man just laying there, all tied up and everything. And whenever you see these things, Mark, I don't even you don't even have to show me the picture. All you have to do was just start talking about it, and just my photographic memory, or I would have just pictured a young black male, because that's what it's always been. We had about 6 or 8 people I saw arrested for money laundering. When I look at them, I'm like, please, come on. What kind of money does these people have? What kind of money does these people have? When you talk about that,
Mr. Caesar, you're an accountant. These people are business people. And when we talk about them like that, they come up and they say people are jealous of them. They are business. What kind of business people? But on a serious note, we've got to find out who this young man is, because law enforcement agencies want to know, and not the law enforcement agency in Guyana, definitely, because they don't give a damn. They probably already know what has happened to this young man. But
Mark, I want to make one point here.
Mr. Caesar, this is the country. This is the country, Guyana, where Irfan Ali is saying this, and he's encouraging people to, guess what?
Guyana really nice. Guyana, it's a nice place.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
A nice place where certain businessmen are allowed to tie and beat and possibly disappear individuals without being held accountable for?
Well,
or who can be arrested? Businessmen who are in bed with senior police officers, senior government officials, and all these manner of things. And this is what Irfan Ali is saying, that Guyana is a nice country and encouraging people. Guyana under the PPP, where people's homes are being broken down, where an ambassador, a so-called ambassador, is talking to this. Speaking of women's month, right? This is a so-called ambassador, Charan Das, the Guyana High Commissioner to India.
Are you any better? No. You're throwing out a helpless dog? What helpless dog? I don't need a dog in my yard, all right? You want the dog, take it, put it between your legs. No, you probably want the dog to fuck you. That's what you want. I don't care. I don't care who you are.
I don't care who the hell you are.
Fuck you.
Yeah,
Now listen to me.
You're drunk.
Don't let any woman come in my yard.
You're bloody drunk.
Hello. You like the camera?
They don't understand English. Speak in Hindi. Chalo, tum chalo.
Yeah. And this is the Guyana that Irfan Ali wants people to go to. Again, hear what he has to say.
Guyana really nice. Guyana. It's a nice place.
Oh my God, oh my God.
Lest we forget about the corruption allegations leveled against Candale, who sits there as the installed vice president of the country. Yet Guyana is nice. Let's not forget this, Mr. Crawford, Caesar, and all the other listeners who are watching, whether in Guyana or wherever you guys are.
Maybe the Chinese company that did not get the agreement that they wanted here, maybe they're the ones who told you. Or it could be just a fictitious thing.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jerome?
So, my relationship?
That matter is still hanging over Jagdev's head. He is the one who said that he wanted an investigation into that matter. Where is the investigation? Where is Sue? Irfan Ali said he wanted an investigation, just like they want an investigation into everything. Just like they said they should be an investigation into the murder of Paper Shorts. Now, I don't care who Paper Shorts associated with, but the fact that he was murdered steps away from Irfan Ali's, where he's sitting there in State House and nothing has happened to it. And the alleged perpetrators are hanging out with senior government officials, are given contracts, are hanging out with senior police officers, and nothing has happened. But let us remind people about this Guyana that Irfan Ali wants people to visit.
Mr. Mark, I believe every word of what Mr. Shu is saying. I am also afraid of Mr. Shu. Mr. Shu, if you are listening, I don't want anybody to harm you. This is a serious thing. Corruption is big. And we Chinese have to stop that. Been bullied by Jack Dale and other government official to pay bribe. It's big all over Guyana. A Chinese to pay by bribe. Mr. Shu, I hope you to stay strong. Do not. We respect and salute you for your bravery, for coming up and speak against corruption in Guyana. Thank you, Mr. Shu. We appreciate you, Mr. Mark. 马克，我相信每一句苏先生说的话。我现在很担心苏先生。苏先生，如果你在听我说话，我不想任何人威胁你。圭亚那政府腐败很严重，这个是很严重的事情。我们中国人必须停止被那些政府用武力行贿。苏先生，我希望你能继续你的发表，也希望你在新的一年万事如意。
Pressure boss pipe. Pressure boss pipe boy. Umaninza Guyana de underwater. Oh, on the wrong. Sorry. Umaninza Guyana de under pressure. Walk. Bang.
Making the short video for send to you and the viewers and listeners. I'll know we punishing in Guyana. Punishing. Rice gone up, sugar gone up, flour gone up, cost of living just gone up, gas gone up from 3,400 to 3,800. Real hungry days under this installed PPP government. Real hungry days.
Right, I'm out now. I'm living in Guyana right about now. I am in Guyana no more. I think
Guyana really nice. Guyana, it's a nice place.
Oh my God, oh my God.
After all that's happening, Guyana real nice. It's a nice place. Nice. And look at what they're doing to Guyana. They're destroying Guyana. Now I noticed somebody said that this is her sister's this is her sister's son or something to that effect. I'm not sure, but I did see it earlier. Sorry about that. I'm seeing that it says, Mark, this is my niece son. Okay, this is your niece son. So Paula, what's happening with this young man? Is he wrong? Is he still missing? What is happening? And we need to know, please, Paula. Somebody's saying that they don't know what's happening. This is, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. We need to find out what has happened to this young man. We need to find out. We got what you're saying, Paula. But Mr. Crawford, Mr. Caesar, we're looking at the time. What else we can talk about before we go, gentlemen?
Mark. Crawford, you want to take it?
Yeah, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Another disturbing trend that we're seeing a lazy and a lackadaisical and a don't care opposition team.
Oh, no, don't, Mr. Crawford. Mr. Crawford, you and I have never disagreed in a long time on this program. How can you say that? These people are working behind the scenes. They're doing a lot of things. They're researching, they're making phone calls, they're going to the hairdresser, they're going to the soup place, they're doing things. But maybe it's just that we are not seeing what they're doing. But continue, sir. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. Now, it's not only to the people who support the coalition team, but every single Guyanese is being done a disservice when an opposition does not stand up and rein in, especially when you have a runaway train government. And these people that are in position now, many of them should not be in leadership position. And the people need to start to stand up and stop being afraid to speak out. The opposition has allowed the current administration to behave as if they're the only individuals who have a voice, who can mandate what goes for our country. We cannot have a team of people who are being elected to serve the Guyanese public, and they're not out there. They're collecting salaries, and those very ones who are silent and they're collecting their monies are the same as the ones that are in office and pilfering our resources, because you're earning money for not doing anything. And the whole nation is suffering because you're not standing up to fight. If you're afraid to open your mouth, please hand in your resignation. And this goes from Norton straight down to the less people. And a lot of folks was, at my throat back in December of 2023. And I stood by my words. I wasn't wrong. We've seen it unfold like a movie. It's time now for the people to start putting people who have the country's growth at heart and people's happiness and not their self-interest. And there are many who are going to say that some stalwarts, and there are some of them who have been in the party at different levels that I've seen that are not worthy. They can bring a vote or two, but they have position. It's time to dump all these people. And the sad part is that many party loyalists they're not going to accept somebody who's a straight shooter, because everybody is looking to get a hustle deal done. Nobody wants to go through, the right channels to earn a proper living. And, when you look back at what happened since they chased Mr. Granger off, it's a total destruction. And like it or not, he was the one who kept us. We didn't have this racial tension in public. If they were there, people were not going to bring it out. Many of us need to go back to him and ask him if there's anything left in the tank for him to serve us or try to wrest this country from going over the falls. But we seem too intent on beating up on Mr. Granger without trying to do the research on what happened and who were complicit, like Wayne was saying early in the program, from the selective Americans, some Canadians, some EU, some British people. And the Guyanese people has to look at Britain. If Britain was our ruler back in the days, they left us in this mess. They continue to allow us to be divided because of the system they left in place for us. And now they're hurting us in our economic section, and it's going to destroy all the other areas, all because we are not coming together and to be a one people, one nation, one destiny. We're so caught up in this fear and this frenism that is costing us and our future, a lot more than we bargained for. And it's a shame to see Guyana with all this wealth and a country that doesn't have earthquakes and tsunamis and tornadoes and all these things. Look at how we are struggling. We are living like rats in holes. And, I'm not saying that I am a super person, but I will never live in fear. I will live with fear, but not in fear. And if tomorrow morning I am being assassinated by anybody who feels I'm a threat to them, I do hope there's a total uproar in this country. It has to stop. We as a people need to look ourselves in the mirror and say, are we here in Guyana just to be in survival mode, or are we going to live a proper life? A life where we can respect our neighbors, where we can be an asset to our communities, and that stretches into our counties and into our country. Our attitude has to change. This run-ins and this hustle, this dope smoking, these are things that are destroying us. If we come together as a people and start to be respectful, we are going to see proper investors. We're going to have opportunities. We won't be waiting 534 days to get a visa appointment. You know what I mean? We will be a nation where people will respect us and we'll have more things. We'll have a better life, more opportunities to be, doctors or doctorate or get real doctor's degree and not, honorary stuff.
All right.
But here it is again. When you speak out of the ministers on and off the government on these shadow people, they get annoyed. And I say to the average Guyanese today, to hell with those who get annoyed. If someone is elected to serve the people, if they're not, time to kick them to the curb, because we cannot afford it. COVID has taught us something. We can be walking around healthy last week, and this week we're dead. So we need to make a positive impact in our society, so we can leave a proper legacy for the younger ones to grow onto and build upon. But here, as a nation with our tongues tied, we are no better than slaves, and that's what we are.
Mr. Crawford, thank you so much. We'll use that as our closing remark. Indeed, this is the aunt of this young man who is on the ground there, tied up. We are hearing by henchmen of a quote-unquote businessman out there in Guyana. Law enforcement agencies, I believe, mind you, outside of Guyana, want to get to the bottom of this in terms of the whereabouts of this young man and the reason why he was tied up, beaten, and to this day we are not sure where he is, but we noticed that his aunt is on. Paula Niles is saying she needs to hear from someone, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom as to whether he is still alive or not. Mr. Caesar, your closing remarks, please, sir.
Yeah, Mark. So there are certain factions of the Guyana police force that I am very close to deeming them a terrorist organization. The PPP is weaponizing the Guyana police force and turning them against the citizenry of Guyana. Also, these security firms, I know we don't see a live Phantom Squad, but the Phantom Squad comes by these security firms. They have killers within those same security companies that are there in Guyana, and they're there for a reason. They're there to do the bidding. Once the PPP would have reached out to the Guyana police force, if they don't want to do it, then those same security firms are going to do it. We definitely need to do something in Guyana. The citizenry, they need to respond. The opposition need to wake up. I need to see a vision. I don't see a vision from the opposition. We need all members of the opposition to be on board, to be on the same page. They need to get out there. They need to edify the people, prepare your constituency. We know in 2025 we're going to have elections. That's if it doesn't happen before that. Mark did say earlier on the program that the PPP will be going up back to Linden to continue the bulldozing of people homes. The opposition need to garner the villages, especially the villages that are Afro-Guyanese dominated, the Pleasants, the Buxtons, the Golden Grove. When they go up to Linden to bulldoze, you guys need to come out to the streets. You guys need to lock down the public road, lock down the line top. Let's do, as John Lewis said, let's make some good trouble. We got to get out there. You know, a lot of people say, oh, they're up in Linden. No, they're coming for you. Watch me. They're coming for you. Your turn is coming. Okay? We need to gather. We need to rally around. We need a good, strong opposition leader. One that is ready and one that has the appetite to lead the people. He or she needs to put out there a vision that everybody is rallying around, that everybody is following. That's the only way that we can get through this. Please do not sit down and think that the United States or any one of these foreign governments is going to come to our aid. They are not. The soup is falling exactly where they want it to fall. They are not coming to our aid.
All right. Well said, Mr. Caesar. Well said, Mr. Crawford. Agree to disagree on some issues, but I do believe that the opposition needs to be more forceful in a good way. Just like John Lewis said, late Congressman John Lewis said, good trouble. We need to see that. We just don't need to see all of the press conferences and the letter writings and so forth. The days are over for that. At least that's what we thought. And in terms of constructively saying that the opposition needs to do more, let us not get emotional. Some of the supporters of the opposition don't get emotional. I've been there on the ground. I understand what being forceful is, and to stand up against a corrupt, a racist installed regime. More needs to be done. If more isn't done, then the PPP is going to continue to get away with what they have been getting away with, especially with, for the most part, the opposition just simply sit back and they're just silent on most issues. That is why the PPP is continuing to get away with literally murder in that country. And so you need a more aggressive, a more forceful opposition who will stand up and go in not only to Mucka, Arcadia, or out in Linden. The people need to see these opposition elements out on the quarantine, in Linden, in Kwakwani, in Ituni. They need to be visible. Are they that visible? No, they're not. Look, the truth is, I have seen for the first time one of those MPs in Linden, Mr. Sears. The first time I have seen him was out at Linden Mashramani, on the road, winding up and dancing up at Mashramani. Now, don't get me wrong. I like a little winding up and dancing up. Yes, it's smash. We've got to celebrate our culture. But what about when the people need help? What about when that woman's house was being broken down in Linden? Where were these same individuals? Where was Mr. Sears? Was he there? Was he confronting the police? Was he stopping them to telling them that that's an illegal act and he will stand up and fight for those people in Linden by every and any legal means necessary? No, they're not. But when you constructively go after the opposition, they got some folks out there who are just basically no different than the PPP supporters. So you want the PPP supporters to bash the PPP, to walk away, to criticize the PPP. But when there are people who love the coalition, people who basically put their lives on the line for the coalition, people who voted for the coalition, you want them to sit back and say nothing. When opposition supporters are feeling the squeeze. And trust me, they are feeling the squeeze. They need better leadership. This is not to say that Norton cannot do better. Can he do better? I believe he can do better. But does he want to do better? I don't know. What about the MPs who are supposed to be doing better? Most of them are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. There are few of them who are fighting. Yes, we respect, we salute, and we appreciate them. But the opposition, the combined opposition, need to do more. We're not hearing from these guys. And you're saying because we're not hearing from these guys, we must shut our mouths, and that when we call them out, we are wrong for doing that? I've got to go. I've got to go. I really got to go. Let me see. Let me see here. Let me see here. Concerning that young man, this lady needs to find out. She doesn't know. And look, I'm not gonna say anything. This is her nephew. He's been missing. This is according to Paula Nice, her nephew. You're telling me that they don't know where this guy is, your nephew or something? We need to find out what's going on. Get the information, Miss Paula Niles. Get to the bottom of this. Find out where your nephew is, whether he was murdered. I don't know. Look, sometimes I get...
Mark, that businessman should be arrested.
One second, sir. Sometimes I get a little worked up. And maybe sometimes I shouldn't. But I've got to go. Gentlemen, I've really got to go. But I become very impatient sometimes, and do forgive me, folks, when people on this side, the coalition side, don't like the constructive criticisms. They want to sit down, and we must stay quiet and allow this sleeping opposition to continue to do what they're doing. Sleep. And nothing must be said to wake them up. They should be up. Because if they're not awake, that's the end of Guyana for all of us. I've got to go. Mr. Crawford, thank you so much. Mr. Caesar, thank you so much for your time. And to all of our listeners, thank you all so much. Keep an eye out. Send us the information as to what has happened to this young man. Mr. Crawford, thank you so much. Mr. Caesar, thank you so much as well. We appreciate what you guys do. Somebody's saying his name is Keith. But thank you so much, gentlemen. I've got to go. So long.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness. Aye, who tell the truth. Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root. Mark Scott, who tell the truth. Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root. Mark Scott, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Scott stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom, who tell the truth? Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root.